themselves if they wanted, and if Smiley's fancying it. TK?
That's going to be
Hey.
Senna Tom Kench. This is a lot
Mm,
stronger. This is like very strong.
yeah, yeah, S tier, for sure.
Yeah.
Surprised we
So
didn't see any of it yesterday.
I didn't see actually any of it yesterday, so it's very interesting to see it first time today. Problem with the one thing with this is I've fully identified what the bot lane matchup is. I'm probably going to see. I would expect Misfits Premier to pick AD carry here, so some of the AD carries don't get pinched out in the second ban phase. But what do you pick here into Senna Tom Kench route?
Yeah, there's not a lot. You kind of just lose lane regardless. I think that Aphelios, you know what, that's about as good as it gets for Woolite. Obviously, Woolite Band are a very established bot lane. We'll have to see if they can hold their own up against Senna TK. Once that first reset comes through and Tom Kench has like even just a Balmy Cinder, it becomes incredibly difficult to try and poke him out of lane and do too much damage. It's the eyes are going to be on the Senna really to not get caught out, not get picked off by that hook by a potential Gravitum as well. There is a few ways for Mistress Premier to get going, but they do need to be careful for the Tom Kench.
So I was going to say this. Obviously, the benefit for Misfits Premier now is they can have that fourth pick. Do they just go for full jungle bans and try and pinch away some of the pull for Kareem here, or do they maybe try and secure good matchups in the solo lanes?
Yeah, well, it looks like pinching jungle pool seems to be the case, and I think that that's a fairly decent way to go about things. Lee Sin is not the champion I would have imagined that they'd go away with, but there's still the Lilia available if they want to go for some double AP top side and then potentially an AD mid for Ronaldo to go in for the match. They do still have the slight chance that this Gwen is flex pick, but with new Q currently hovering Ignite TP, don't imagine that that's going to be the case just yet. And then it looks like with these double ADs getting banned away in the jungle at the very least, that Kareem is going to have to default a little bit further down the pool. Graves is still open, so that could be a pick that they go for if they want something a little bit more damage focused as opposed to the early game ganking style we maybe come to expect.
One more ban left for go here. Probably going to be another mid laner, I'd imagine.
Yeah, ban away mids, get away your safe blind
I think getting away
for.
with getting with the Gnar makes a lot of sense here, actually, in terms of it's a very safe blind. If you wanted to blind pick top here, which they probably will be opting to, it's
Well,
probably
they're
the
up
most safe
against the Gwen
options.
here, right? So
No,
so
I'm
Misfits
sure I'm
Premier.
for Misfits Premier not being able to pick.
Yeah, and they're getting rid of those top champions,
Ooh.
right? They're getting rid of now. They're getting rid of a Akali that does well versus the Gwen.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, they've missed the MSI special, which was the Jax, and taking Jax into Gwen also came to be something that a lot of players would opt into quite willingly, quite readily. So Team Go still have that difficult top lane matchup, and this is Premier. They also get the luxury of mid lane counter pick as well. This is that sacrifice that you make by B1ing your top laner. And now this is that point where we've been sort of alluding to the flex the entire game. They might look to go for it here, knowing that this top matchup isn't too great.
just see whether they do that or not. But I think, like we mentioned earlier, that Graves is going to be the pick that they go for in the jungle. Kareem's going to be on Graves, and they're going to be picking the mid laner here as well, offering a few champions I don't think we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, Gwen so far the only magic damage, so you'd expect to see another one locked in, particularly with Senna Graves as your marksman. You don't really know what you're going up against, so this is a blind pick for you. Zoe is fairly brave, I'll be honest, versus an Aphelios Nautilus as a duo because they've both got ways of CCing you on your
Mm.
way in. So if you go for a portal jump and you're in the range of a purple auto attack, for example, will be able to put down that auto Q when you land. Similarly, Nautilus, if you're in range for the depth charge as well, yes, it follows you and takes a fair while to get back, but that is guaranteed CC for the exit.
Ooh, the Azir pick. This is a champion obviously famous in the meta for a long, long time. Kind of not massively in favor, kind of coming more and more so. There was obviously a time where Azir Corki was all you were seeing. What do you think about the Azir pick around that Misfits Premier's composition?
Yeah, I think that Chayak has got this pretty much on lock. It's going to be a fairly difficult laning phase. Zoe is going to be fairly punishing if she tries to just really throw down any trades at all. And with the TP versus Ignite matchup for the solo laners, it may well prove to be that there's a little bit of priority put down. Can be fairly easy to get away though, even if you get bubbled and you have your Q available. That's sort of the even though Azir's escape tool is on his E, right? The dash is on his E. You need the Q to buy any real distance because otherwise you're just Wing your, and it's effectively a bad Lucian dash when you're using your E without its Q. So there is a world where you can get caught out if you go for a bad trade. But I do think that the Azir fits with this composition quite nicely, right? There's no doubt what Misfits Premier are looking for. They have Helios, they have Azir. Their late game team fights are going to be very nice. They've got Diego for resets, which is a slightly different look for Zanzara. His opportunities are going to be very much around in those mid to late game team fights to use that snowball that you get from the team fighting that Viego has. He still has the opportunity to play early game, play his style, but it's not the champion that we've seen him play yet, at least yesterday.
100%. And in contrast to what we were saying stylistically going into the matchup, where Go is sort of running over the game in the early game and Misfits Premier were kind of just allowing themselves to get to that later game point, is that the same? How's that bucked the trend of what we were expecting going into it coming out of draft?
No, I think that they've got those late game tools quite nicely. The issue that they're playing up against is they're also up against Senna Tom Kench, which Senna in the early game, not necessarily the same beast that she is in the late game. She really does, obviously, with that infinite range, with the fasting style that we've seen come back to fruition, has a lot of range, has a lot of ability to just annihilate people in the late game phases. And both of these team comps are going to be fairly scary. Gwen has a fairly decent time of things if she can get through this early game. I think that top lane matchup is somewhere to draw our attention to because the later the game goes, the better the Jax gets, and this is also a pick that has been, been picked up to be a counter in the early stages.
Oh, good friend, the shopkeeper, once again for LFL Day 2. Lovely to see him as always as we descend onto the Rift. Both people entrapped in the. What do you even call that? What do you think the lore behind that is? Like the whole thing behind how they can't exit until 15 seconds.
Well, it's like, do you remember? You know what, like the Colosseum in Greece, right?
Yeah.
Where they would have like gladiators battling up against other people. It's like when you introduce them. I can imagine there's a big announcer, and what we don't see is a load of stands around Summoner's Rift. Um, and it's just this is their introduction stage, you know.
Yeah, maybe. I remember reading a long, long time ago, and I'm not entirely sure if this is completely true. That basically the idea was the champions are like idols that you possess. Like you're the player, and you like are acting out as these like champions that you summon, and then it's like all like in an arena, right? Because they obviously all have like stories outside of the game.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that that's true, which is
Okay.
it's interesting, right? It's like they're being put in like Matrix battle royales, kind of.
First person League One.
But we're getting very deep for game one. But in terms of the shallowness that might be occurring, Zanzara obviously going to be playing towards that top side, which you can see. A late invade is going to mean that the map is getting split. I like this adaptation from Kareem here in terms of being able to protect this top side matchup potentially. It is going to mean that Viego might have had to spot this out. They didn't have a ward on it, so it might be difficult to do so.
Yeah, are they operating under a little bit of a lack of vision? Maybe with Ronaldo coming a little bit late to lane, they're probably fairly aware that this has happened, and this could just be a level 2 mid, and it could be traded.
Yeah, Kareem's coming in here. Viego is off to the side here, going to be walking straight into the Viego. That is going to make it difficult for Kareem to transition into the topside camps, but it seems like Danzara's just going to acquiesce to that, move back into his own jungle.
Yeah, and this is the defense of the red buff, essentially. It prevents a trade, and that split map that you talked about, it's going to be the trade then of just one, or it's a free camp start, essentially, for Kareem. Gets all 3 of the buffs that were requested, no red buff for Zanzara, and a lot of wasted time for Zanzara as well. Made his way pretty much into the Raptor pit of Kareem before he's able to then walk away, unfortunately, due to that cross through the mid lane.
Yeah, and I think this is absolutely massive for Go. We talked about how they needed to come out of the gate swinging in terms of basically, surrounding what they did yesterday, and they've absolutely done that so far. Managing to get a lead for Kareem here is going to mean that when we saw him in these skirmishes early yesterday showing so much prowess, him getting off at the races is very important for this team.
Yeah, and I like that this is a different look for Ronaldo. Obviously started out the season with a Karma game, but pulling out the Zoe here, obviously that different take. I'm not saying that any mid laner, I wasn't expecting Ronaldo to just be a Karma one trick, but it's good to see that we are getting that diversity already and showing off multiple assets that the players got.
Absolutely. Karma not really the champion you'd expect to see Ronaldo on. Not really a striker's champion. More of a left back, I would say.
Yeah, agreed.
More defensive. But a dive going to be happening here. Kareem and Nuke here. Zanzara stuns it off to the side here. Means that Kareem can't really get into it. Q going to wall bang off the wall. I think it's just going to be a falter in aggression here as they can't really find something here. Zanzara's done a good job of covering this dive. Ronaldo is off to the side here, though.
Yeah,
it's going to be a case of getting these waves in.
Not enough time, unfortunately. Irrelevant would be able to base TP back in and then move, obviously, into the turret with full HP. A nice effort by Team Go, but a great shadow from Zanzara. And, you talked about the split map that could have potentially come to be, trying to defend against the bad matchup that Team Go had. It turns out that, so far, at the very least, Nuke has really had the run of this laning phase, doing a very good job at punishing onto Irrelevant. Early stages really worked out. Obviously, the majority of Gwen's early damage does come from the Q, which doesn't get blocked by Counter-Strike, which is largely why you expect Jax to really throw down, and the fact that W Gwen doesn't tend to do anything.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that. But when do you think is the point at which this Gwen matchups really starts to turn around for the Jax?
Yeah, I think that the later we get, the harder it gets, honestly. Like, this is just any Jax matchup in particular, but when you're looking at Gwen's later game damage, her autos actually do start to stack up as a real damage source, so you're blocking a large portion of that when we get into the later portions of the game, and you do start to rely on exclusively Q plus ulti for new Q for those initial trades, and Irrelevant, when we have that later stage of the game, is going to be much tankier, much scarier against the Gwen. He's got a really nice build path to go this game. He can go for his mythic. And
He's got a nice little trade for himself here, though. Gets the stun down. Ignite goes down. Kareem's off to the side here. It came close. Irrelevant tried to find an advantage here, and this is going to mean a perma-freeze and even further snowballing for this top lane matchup.
really important. Look at the summoner spells from both top laners. It's Ghost versus Ignite. Ignite is a much better combat tool to try and shut down anything that Irrelevant's going for. Yes, he's got the more early game oriented keystone in that lethal tempo, but it just didn't matter in that situation. Nuke, with the support of his jungler as well, was able to hold out in the 1v1, enables Kareem to get in there in a wise play from Kareem once again. Makes his way up to the top side and makes his impact felt.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about during the pregame how important this top lane matchup would be in terms of preserving Go's style, and that's very much been the case so far, hasn't it, Rutu?
Yeah, Nuke was their carry from game number one, day number one, and I think that trying to protect that here today and set up for that certainly going to be something that I'm a fan of for sure. They've got carries in Ronaldo this time round and more of a self-sufficient bot lane.
A lot of damage from Kareem there, but Vander should just be able to walk away here. Actually, Kareem aggressing on, getting a little bit more damage, potentially get some poke out. And Zanzara's moved into that topside jungle, but he's unfortunately found nothing.
Yeah, no candy there, unfortunately. Hands in the cookie jar, but it was already emptied out. And Kareem gets his now chance to improve that vision score a little bit. Double hits, but this jungler here.
Aggressive from Ronaldo. Shayak is going to have the ultimate available. Can't quite find the Shurima shuffle that he would have liked to. Ronaldo's going to fire out another Q here. Zanzara does the due diligence of blocking that for him.
Nicely done, but this could well be a large wave missed under the turret. Now, Vander's here. Will have been spotted on that blue ward. They're just walking willingly into the Nautilus. Going to get to clear out this pink as well and likely get a TP from Hayek as well.
Ooh, Vander's going to take a lot of damage here. Does have to flash out there. Bitten off a little bit more than he might have otherwise liked to have chewed there. And Nuke might go aggressive here. Has the ultimate timing out on the turret. Goes very aggressive under turret, though. He's taking a lot of damage from that.
Yeah, just missing out on the final skill shots. Nice little side steps from Irrelevant. If you land that snip, really good to see him use the auto attack on the ward to get that fourth stack. But like we say, he doesn't quite have the angle. Really nice from Irrelevant to just get away from the damage.
See whether... I thought that Kareem was maybe going to opt in for his camps here, but instead he's actually gone for the dragon. He's going to trade a little bit of tempo overwards, but Vignerim has come in aggressively on the Tahm Kench. Woolite is trading very nicely backwards with the gun setup that he has. Kareem is going to take this dragon and then rotate into his bot side camps. Red buff spawning obviously soon, and then we're going to be able to grab him.
And something that we mentioned in yesterday's games was how much of a fan we were of Vignerim. Played the Rakan yesterday, now on, I guess, a slightly more carry-oriented style. Has got the Tahm Kench, which is going to be farming and have a little bit more agency in the game. Excited to see what Vignerim can do playing the Tahm Kench up against what is going to be a relatively immobile backline. Obviously, the Aphelios not going to have anything outside of potential Gale Force. And then you've got the Azir, who's going to be gated largely by cooldowns on mobility.
Indeed. With that first dragon gone down, Viego's obviously prioritizing himself towards that Rift Herald. We're seeing the Nautilus start to move up. Tahm Kench obviously rotating up out of base. It looks like Senna's going to be doing the same. It's going down very quickly, though. Kareem has a big spike here with the Serrated Dirt. Going to be doing a lot of damage onto Shayak almost immediately, but can he get in close enough to even be able to smite this? Looks like he might be going for it. Zanzara manages to get it. He now looks to flash forward onto Kareem here. Kareem's going to go very low. And that's Irrelevant, almost finding him. Kareem goes down here. Vander is stunning up Ronaldo. Ronaldo goes down, has the flash, but can't find it. It's a Rift Herald for Misfits Premier, plus 2 kills. An absolute disaster for Go. And they might even manage to get Vignerim as well.
No CC means that Vignerim does get out a 2-for-0 plus the Rift Herald. And just the timings from Misfits Premier slightly better. They had 4 people around the Herald at the crucial moment where the bot lane for Team Go wasn't quite there in time. Smiley and Vignerim not quite able to make their impact felt. Vander was there just in time to be that difference maker and set up for that team fight going their way. They get the Herald, they get themselves 2 kills and put themselves right back in this game.
I mean, when you look at this fight, it's very important, like you say, to talk about Vander. Kareem bites off too much here, tries to go in, tries to get in a position where he can potentially look for steal. Gets a bit of damage onto Zanzara, but the important thing is he uses that ult, and then Zanzara responds with Red Smite onto Rift Herald. It means that Kareem goes down when Irrelevant moves to this first. Ronaldo then dies afterwards. Vander, very important for him, channels the famous boxer Evander Holyfield. The hooks land, line, and sinker, and it almost results in them getting 3 kills. Ignorum, very lucky to escape. A big comeback in terms of the early game aggression that was coming out of Go for Misfits Premier to be able to come back and capitulate. And Zara going to take a lot of damage here, though. Kareem doesn't have that ultimate just available just yet.
You just had that Umbral Glaive, and like you mentioned, this is the 30 Dirks spike. The Umbral Glaive is an even bigger one. Look at that damage onto Irrelevant. 3v2 under the turret. You can see that Chayek is on his way up as well. I expect to see Team Go disengage from this, but you can see their willingness, their want to set up new Q for success. This guy carried them in game number 1 of the day, or of the season, and they look to facilitate him once more, this time with the really powerful pickup of the Gwen. See what he can get doing.
Anders looking aggressively here, finds the hook onto Wagner, and does have the ultimate available onto Smiley. Woolite has guns here. Xeneralt comes out in response. It's going very low now. Woolite's in the ult. He gets taken out by Smiley. That is a smile beaming down onto the face of Vander and Co. And it's a
lovely
2v2 double kill. Smiley and Wagner acquiesce. They come back. They find a victory in the bot side.
Double kill. Beautifully done. Now mid lane.
Aldo's into Zanzara now. Can he find the reset? Kareem takes him out almost immediately. He's
Double
blocking.
hits.
Drowsy comes in afterlife. Can Jayek find a way out here? Kareem goes in, finds the double kill.
Really nice stuff by Team Go across the map. 2 separate 2v2 double kills. Down in the bot lane, Smiley comes away with 2 off the back of a really well set up 2v2 engagement. And then in the mid lane as well, Kareem able to find a couple of kills for himself off the back of that early item spike. Umbral Glaive is such a cheap item, it means you hit your first item spike so early on. But have a look at this bot lane 2v2 once again. Send a TK, so self-sufficient for this reason. Cutting through a Tom Kent's is a much more difficult task than teams give credit for. Double grey health comes through from Wagner, and he has effectively twice the health pool. And a nice flash Q there secures the deal. Vander, even with that shield, not able to stay alive. Smiley grabs 2.
We spoke about during the pregame, and one of the points was how impressed we were with Wagner on day 1. Obviously, coming in as that replacement support, you've got a lot to prove. He's done it so far in these 2 games, showing absolute lane dominance in both of his games. I've been very impressed with him so far.
As have I. And that's just accelerated Smiley to as a carry with no gold income, effectively. You get a little bit from the souls.
It's deceptive. It's deceptive, right?
It really is, right? Because you don't expect the center to be even in levels. You know, you're trying to use the support item to generate a bit of cash now, even on items with Woolite. But that Herald is mid lane. We'll see what the defense looks like.
What is mid lane? It's going to be taking it very low here. Wagner gets hooked out to the side here. Zanzara might have a W over the wall. It's just going to be them both trading off aggression in that sense. Mid lane turret does go down very low, but they're going to be transitioning cryo. Potentially looking for this dragon that's spawning up in around 10 seconds or so.
They may just look to take the turret itself. Ronaldo could try and wave clear this, but they're just threatening really well.
Yeah, this is really good for Misfits Premier. I mean, I've completely neglected to understand that they could just walk up and take this. The response wasn't there from Go. They're going to lose the priority in the mid lane, lose the mid lane turret. Misfits Premier going to look to equalize with a dragon of their own as well.
Yeah, and Smiley just pretty much sacrificed the mid lane turret to try and get a few souls down bot lane. Dragon now the contest.
Kareem's here to do a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage onto Wu. Like Wagner going very aggressive. They've actually decided, hang on, you thought you were getting the dragon. Psych, we're going to take that, take the second one, and now build towards the Infernal Soul win condition.
Yeah, we're just seeing players not really going for what the team wants right there. Smiley goes down to the bot lane, not defending against mid lane, and then Chayek stays in the mid lane around his self-generated turret instead of moving down toward the dragon. And those 2 things combined mean that their teams have to give up relative objectives. I would honestly say that giving up a mid-tier 1 is not worth it for a dragon specifically, but when they've got these 2 drakes stacking, later on it may prove to be worthwhile. If they can get this soul fairly early on, they'll be looking back and going, okay, well, we ended up getting that drake off the loss of mid-tier 1. It turned out to be worthwhile.
Do you think it's the case for Misfits Premier? Can they utilize this mid-tier 1 to potentially set up some better vision for the next dragons? Or how do you think Go can kind of counter the loss that they've suffered?
Mid-tier 1 is really difficult when you're behind, when you're not losing outright, which Team Go definitely aren't at this point. It doesn't matter as much. The thing that they're going to have to try and combat is Ronaldo always has to be careful now in the mid lane. Losing that mid-tier 1 means that your safety, your bastion, is no longer there. And this just frees up Chayek so much. He can now move in, set up vision, inside, topside jungle, bot side jungle, whichever objective they're looking to test around. And you can see immediately this is having ramifications on the bot lane. Ragnarum and Smiley, they can't step up, they can't be aggressive because Chayek spends 5 seconds clearing the wave and then there's 25 seconds out on the map where he can do what he wants.
Absolutely. I mean, it was one of the points that you raised as being a concern in terms of how bold Ronaldo's Zoe pick was. When you're playing into this Azir, when you're playing into this Nautilus, one wrong move really does spell death.
Exactly, really squishy, no mobility to escape anything, and you can see now that they're all trying to protect on this bot side. This mid-tier 1 questioned what it would do for the map, and it has opened it up for Misfits Premier, that's for sure.
Yeah, you obviously got a lot of safety with that Tarn Kenshol. It just means that they need to actually match the numbers advantage that is gained in the bot side. Go do a good job of that, and the map goes back to being kind of somewhat reset.
What we haven't really touched on too much for the time being has been the state of that top lane. Obviously, Nuki with just the one assist thus far, but does have that CS advantage. The top lane is really even on items.
Vignarum going to get stunned up here. Zanzara's coming around the side here. Nautilus ult onto Vignarum is going to be effective here. Ulike gets exhausted, but he's going to be going down almost immediately. It's a reset. Shayek with a big Shurima shuffle finds Smiley. Shutdown goes over to Vander. And it's a big turnaround for Misfits Premier here.
And look at the bot side vision for Team Go. That it just doesn't exist through the pathways that Chayek wants to take. He's walking through the back of the Drake pit, the back of Red Buff as well, and they're just completely off vision. They're always playing this game of where is the Azir, able to push in a wave, move down. Chayek makes a great play in the bot lane, gets a second kill. This 2v2 that was going the way of Team Go has just been completely fumbled and completely turned around.
Oh, that's a lot of damage from Kareem here. I don't think he quite has the damage for ultimate, but it won't matter. Aided with the shield from the center. Ronaldo's here as well, but irrelevant.
It's 2v1
coming up big in a 1v2 here. Can't quite manage to find the space needed to get that stun, but he's starting to turn this matchup around.
That's a lot of summoner spells expended as well by Team Go. Both ignites from the solo laners, flash from Ronaldo as well. Irrelevant came away looking like he wanted to kill them both.
Completely. I mean, we spoke about how there's going to come a time in this game where Irrelevant starts to find a bit more prominence, a bit more space on this Jax pick. Are we approaching that almost rising delta point, or is that still a far way away?
I think we're there. I think we're pretty much hitting on it, right? We just seen Irrelevant take a 2v1. I would imagine that we've hit that point at this moment, and it's a really crucial stage of the game because this top lane pressure, which we'd set up as Nuki to try and be the carry force for Team Go regardless of resources given. He can't win that 1v1 in the top lane or in the side lane, wherever they end up going. It's definitely going to be difficult, and it sets up Team Go to now have to alter their playstyle to play to this 5 versus 5, which when you're playing up against Azir, Aphelios, looking for these hardcore team fights, certainly isn't easy. It is doable because you are the Gwen and you do, you can use your W to buy your time in the front line, but it's not easy for sure.
Important to note for this next fight, it's the third dragon. It's the chance for Team Go to pick up that penultimate dragon. Ronaldo does not have that flash. Zayek does. Look to Zayek as your man to watch, eyes peeled for this guy for the next dragon fight. I feel like he can come up very big. If he can find that Shurima shuffle, potentially catching Ronaldo out on a flank, it's going to mean absolute disaster for Team Go.
Well, potentially Kareem catches Chayek here, just sat in the...
I'll see him over the wall here. Goes in very aggressively. Zayek's going to get out of here, though, with the E available. He gets drowsied over the wall there. Can Kareem find space enough to find him? Q forward. Oh, is going to do it, and we just hyped him up. The caster's curse. Zayek looking to do big things in his team fight. We'll have to watch from the grey screen as they are going to pick up the penultimate dragon.
Exactly, that's Soul Point. No contest to be had for Misfits Premier. They immediately divert their attentions up to the top side. Now, Nuki does need to be careful. Overextended 3 people, 4 people on their way up.
I like this optimization from Zanzara. They realize due to, unfortunately, Zayek getting caught out here, they're going to have to go for this W. It has to be landed here by Zanzara. They find the Q as well. It's going to be another kill for Irrelevant, swinging the matchup even further in favor for Misfits Premier. Picking up a Rift Herald as well, by the looks of it.
Yeah, really, just a bit of an unwise mistake there from Nuki. Kind of unforgivable. When your team's taking a Drake on the bot side, you don't see a load of people on the enemy team. Natural progression is that they could just come and take you. It gives over an advantage for nothing, but this is Premier doing a great job. They capitalize. They see, hey, this is a Gwen that we can kill really quick. They get that kill, and they're likely to even take that top turret. Even though it's not had too much damage on it at present, this is Jax with that Divine Sunderer.
I think, like you're saying, sometimes you do have to put 2 and 2 together, realize there aren't 5 people on the map, and just play a bit safer. Nuki does fly a bit too close to the sun that is Jax at the moment, the prodigal son that was promised, the prince that was promised, who will soon be taking over this game. Moving to the second item mark.
Yeah, and he's not based for a while. Both of these two
He
carries
might be
have
in a bit
sort
of
of been.
trouble here, but Zanzara is coming to cover him. I'm not sure that. Important to note is Irrelevant doesn't have any mana here.
He has mana for Leap Strike. That has very little cost.
Yeah, he's just going to get
Can't
taken
see.
out here. Absolutely no mana to get away here. You almost felt like he was being led on a wild goose chase. It was going to be very, you know, less than desirable circumstances for his escape there.
And again, just slight overextension. And now the play is in the favour of Team Go. They have this opportunity, this window
Very
of time
ping-pong
where
game. We're getting a very tennis-like game here.
we are, and it's off of individual mistakes. Both top laners now getting caught slightly overextended instead of going for that mid lane where Woolite is sort of sat ready to wave clear at any notice. They're just going to hover this top side, and NewQ gets that trade of turrets back. We're just trading objectives, like you say. The game of tennis is certainly fairly prevalent, and we're heading toward that point. 20 minutes on the marker. Baron has just spawned, and then Team Go, they get this sort of Team Go don't have the question mark. It's Misfits Premier that now play with the question of where are Team Go going to opt into playing through. They had this, 3 Drake Soul, or 3 Drake already, so the Soul very much up and ready. But they can just leave one Dragon, give over an Infernal, and set up for that Baron.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch on the fact that during our downtime here, as some people get onto the map, God, I've had 2 voice cracks since we started casting this league. And I'm not going to try and say it's your fault, Rude Dude, but I didn't have voice cracks before I started casting with you.
Oh, my bad, sorry.
Just letting you know. I wanted to briefly point out, I think League of Legends has more similarities to tennis than people give it credit for.
There's 2 sides?
Listen, look at the lane right now. Grass, like Wimbledon, right? And then you have like if it's an ocean map or like a mountain map, then that's more like a clay surface, you know? I'm really extending this metaphor to the logical constraints of the possible, but in any case, logic has not been dictated during this game. Every time that we think that one team is going to take the advantage, it does get ping-ponged back in the opposite direction. This dragon's going to be coming up in 2 minutes now. This Baron is all to play for. What is the next play in this game?
The difficult thing for Team Go right now is this mid-tier 1 turret. Woolite has done a great job at just standing firm, clearing out the wave as best as possible. Whenever you have a Zoe on your team, you really want to look for plays using as much terrain as possible. This mid-tier 1's not down, it makes it really difficult to utilise particularly the jungle.
Yeah, Go going to be taking this mid-tier 1, obviously striking out revenge for that tier 1 that was lost a bit earlier in the game. That's a lot of damage onto Woolite. That Kareem ult could have just about found him. Zanzara is red smited here. Nautilus is hooked here. He's going to be getting taken out by the center ult. Not quite there. Goes very low though. Nuke comes in with the ding. Irrelevant has the ghost priming here. The NUQ goes in very aggressively. Ignite timing out onto Irrelevant means he goes down just about. This is going to be the Soul now potentially. Chayek has to get out of here, licking his wounds. Oh, Ronaldo tries to find a flash there, can't quite get it. Gale Force wasn't available from Woolite, so it's a slightly aggressive choice from him.
Yeah, but now they're going to go toward the Baron. They've taken down the top laner.
Hello, Ronaldo. Goes forward here. Woolite is going to get taken out here. Very good angle to be found from Ronaldo. That's going to all but assure this Baron that's going down very, very, very fast.
Yeah, the question now not if this Baron, this Baron could get stolen. Need to be careful.
Zara, he's going around the side here. It's not gone down quite low enough. They've not opted in for the burst. Here comes Zanzara. He doesn't find it. He's going to get stunned up almost immediately. That all but assures the Soul coming up soon. It's going to be a teleport into the bot lane from Irrelevant to try and acquiesce some of the pressure on the map. You have real questions about whether Misfits Premier are going to be able to contest this Soul in any meaningful way.
Yeah, 20 seconds still at the minimum before this Drake begins, and you can already see that Team Go are beelining it down to that bot side of the river. They want to get the Soul as well. They've got the timer on it. Zanzara not going to be ready or available for it. And yes, you're able to take down this, or able to put this turret down in the mid lane, but they can just walk past it. They don't care for that right now. They're going to look toward this Dragon, look toward this Soul, and really start that snowball.
A lot of damage from Ronaldo. He's going to be able to find that just off the screen there. Ronaldo on a killing spree. And when you talked about the pressure in this mid game, we talked about how Shayak, using that summoner cooldown, needed to find these openings. It's very much been in contrast. Ronaldo finding these picks, these long-range bubbles, that is really allowed Go to blow open this game.
And I don't think it could have been set up better. Literally, the second that tier 1 mid lane turret falls, it just opened up Ronaldo to play pretty much as required. Use the Zoe to full extent, and Zoe went ahead. Is a completely different beast to Zoe went behind. Half of her power comes from the terrain that she has access to. When you have so many turrets down in the mid lane, that terrain increases significantly. You can use the bubbles through walls. Anybody looking to try and find a little bit of vision gets picked off. Team Go use that picking from the mid lane to get the mid lane inhibitor, the bot lane inhibitor, whilst Irrelevant can only push a turret in the top lane, not even take it down.
Absolutely. I mean, we spoke about it just now, but if Zoe E's are footballs, then Ronaldo is scoring absolute screamers thus far. Able to
On the
lining up
hat-trick, yeah.
picks on the hat trick, absolutely, on that killing spree. Matches up very well there, Rudu. Good job. And it's difficult now for me to see a way back into the game for Misfits Premier with that soul condition being met now. Is there any way back into it?
There's the classic of we flip Elder and win there. The question is, can they get to Elder? Is the game not already going to be over? There's still a minute left on this Baron. We get to see a little bit of a replay of how this all started, right? This initial engagement was Zanzara dashing forward in order to try and protect his backline. You think that it's going to go fairly well for them, right? Irrelevant's made his way into the back.
Relevant gets exhausted almost immediately.
Exactly.
He can't do a lot. NUQ comes in, manages to find in last tick Ignite here. Important to note before this as well is the fact that Wu Light's Gale Force was burned. And that when Ronaldo came up against him here, Flash Wolf was a little bit zealous perhaps, but it meant that no escape from him. In terms of immediate reaction, Flash probably should have been used here, but it comes out of vision here. You see it, lines up, hook, line, and sinker. I would have maybe liked to have seen a Flash. I don't know if the minions are just about close enough, but in any case, it does mean that he goes down there.
Yeah, you could, there's definitely a couple of options for Woolite there. He did have Flash available, and if you flash toward the minions or flash just even further away, potentially over the wall that you were at, you can definitely get away from those. I don't know that it would have changed the course.
Reem goes very aggressively, flashes out almost immediately. Tries to find Woolite there. Not the best advised thing if you're timing the summoners. You would know that that flash is available. And the summoner heal coming up from the previous skirmish. Didn't need it, obviously.
Now the turret's just going to fall, though. That is just poke to force Woolite off the turret. Final engagement, final stand.
All assault is going to be wasted here. Irrelevant trying to find some damage onto NUQ here. He's going to go very low. Center roll is going to help him. It's a big ultimate from Shayek here. Finds Kareem. Ignorum is going to save this for now, though. Vander goes low. Woolite low as well. And you tried with a Shurima shuffle. You have been turned into a Shurima souffle by the engaging force and burst from Ronaldo and Kareem. They turn this fight around. They turn the game on its head. The head that we'd already seen. Heads and tails. Take it how you like it. Go come out with a 2-0 start to week 1.
Really nice stuff from Team Go. The new pickup of that support certainly showing off a little bit. It was a large topside game from Team Go. Wagner able to hold firm in that bot side, but really good stuff from Ronaldo on that Zoe. The second that they opened up the map, the game pretty much exploded, right? It was from that